I've just arrived in the Netherlands from Australia, and one of the things that I've learned about Dutch people is that they are exceptionally good at collaboration, and this is because of the way they manage their water systems. For more than 1,000 years, they've been having to work together to manage the levels of the lakes and the dikes and the water systems across the country, because if they didn't, they would all drown. And so it's created a kind of collaborative approach to making decisions that I find really fascinating and is quite tangible when you spend time with the people here. And at the same time, the thing that I've been thinking about a lot recently is the well-being economy. And these two things come together because, in a way, a well-being economy is an economy that allows the flow of resources to move through the entire community in a way that is smooth, that is fair to everybody, that doesn't leave some people drowning and other people succeeding at their expense. So it's an economy that favours the well-being of everybody in the community. And I got very fascinated by this in a conversation recently. It's something I've thought about many times before, but it started to come alive for me in a new way. And I was thinking about, well, how do we actually get that well-being economy to happen? And of course, the answer is very simple. You start with yourself. You start on the inside. And so what I've started to explore is, what is a well-being economy inside my own energy field? Not only in my body, but actually in all of that piece of energy that I identify as Sarah. And when I look at that as a well-being economy, rather than just how's my well-being or how healthy am I or how is my energy, it gives me a different experience, because I start to see the connections between things and the relationships between things. An economy is all about relationships. It's about the flow of resources between the members of the community. So through all this array of relationships, that's what makes an economy work. It's not something you can run on your own. And so what are the relationships that are going on within my field and within my body that create well-being? And it's a very fascinating thing to explore, and it's been a very fascinating thing for me to start to cultivate inside my body. And of course, once I'm doing that inside myself, I start to get curious about, well, what is a well-being economy in a business? I have two businesses. The first thing I realized is that I can't cultivate a well-being economy in any business if I haven't cultivated it inside myself. It's just not going to work, because I don't have the patterns. I don't have the energetic blueprint for a well-being economy well enough established, unless I have that in my own system first of all. But as soon as I start cultivating it in my system, it starts to shift what's going on in the business anyway, because I'm a different person, and so I start to operate differently in the business. And again, we come to relationships. Business is all about relationship. Every single thing you do in a business, essentially you do in relationship with a client, with a supplier, with a team member, with yourself, even with your product, and of course also with your invisible, intangible spiritual allies and guides. So we're in relationship with everything. And so what starts to happen is that I focus on the quality of the relationships that are in and around my business, and what is the creative potential of those relationships. When the relationships are in good relationship with each other, and we're clear in our relationships, we're not just hanging around for no purpose, for example. There's a purposeful quality to it. Those relationships start to become creative, which means productive, which means they produce what a business wants, which is going to be a flow of resources, which include money and many other things as well. And it creates a general sense and experience of well-being in the business and in the business community. Of course, once we have this well-being economy in our business, we start to ask, how do we create a well-being economy across the world, not just in one business or in one human being, but for all of us? And the fundamental principle has to be that I start with myself and the well-being economy inside my own body and my own energy field. And then I look to how I do that in my business or in my project or in my family, whatever your arena is for resource allocation and for moving things around and making things happen. And then I start to look at the relationships that are happening in the businesses around me, and from my business, just as my own personal well-being economy contributes and changes my business then starts to participate in and create a well-being economy around it. And I believe that if enough of us get involved in contributing to a well-being economy, it is something that will grow because energy is being fed into it. And it's such an attractive thing. Like, who wouldn't want to live in a well-being economy? An economy that invests in the well-being of its population. It makes so much sense to me. Like, I can't imagine who would do anything different. And what I see as the real potential of a well-being economy is that it's orientated, first of all, around investment, rather than around debt or taxation, which are both things that essentially take away from people's well-being. And that if it's well done, a well-being economy invests in the well-being of all of life, human beings and nature, and the result must mean that you literally don't need taxation and debt, because you have a profitable economy that's supporting the well-being of all participants. When we're well, we're better members of our community. We cost less, we contribute more, we're more productive, we're more creative. We do all the things around which economic activity is based. And of course, when we're well, we're also wiser, we make better decisions. And so in every way, whichever level I look at it, the personal, the business, or the global economy, I see that the words well-being economy act like a kind of code to a way of being and relating and making decisions and acting in my own personal life, in my business, and in my public life that contributes to a much better way of us growing our economy together.